The galaxy has been in turmoil for centuries. Two of the most powerful alien empires, the Zelnor and the Viedrax, have been locked in a war so vast, so brutal, that its echoes can be felt in every corner of the universe. Their technologies are beyond anything most species could imagine. Planet-busting cannons, fleets that stretch across solar systems, weapons capable of bending space itself. Yet, despite all their advancements, either side has gained the upper hand. The war started with a spark, territorial disputes over unclaimed planets rich in resources. But over the years, the reasons faded into the background. It became something else entirely, a battle for supremacy, a relentless clash to determine which species would dominate the galaxy. Both believed that victory was a matter of time and strategy, yet time continued to pass, and their strategies remained too closely matched. Year after year, century after century, the conflict dragged on. For the Zelnor, their once unstoppable war machines now lie in ruins, their resources dangerously depleted. The Viedrax, though still fiercely aggressive, are equally exhausted. Their fleets, once the terror of the galaxy, are now scattered and weakened. The weapons that could once turn planets to ash now sputter with decay. In a war that seemed endless, both sides have reached the same grim realization: they cannot win. It is a war of attrition. Their technology, their tactical prowess, even their ruthless determination, none of it has brought the decisive victory they craved. The war has drained their civilizations, leaving them teetering on the edge of collapse. Morale is shattered, resources nearly gone. For all their might, the Zelnor and the Viedrax are trapped in a war they cannot escape, and every day that passes brings them closer to total ruin. But desperation is a powerful force. In one last effort to end the stalemate, representatives from both empires gather in neutral space for a summit, a final attempt to resolve the war before it consumes them entirely. The bitterness between them is palpable, centuries of hatred simmering beneath the surface. Neither side wants to concede, but they know they must find a way out. They are too evenly matched, too broken to continue alone. In a moment of uneasy agreement, they arrive at a radical solution: they will bring in outside help. For the first time in their history, both empires will allow an external species to intervene. It is an idea that neither side would have entertained under normal circumstances, but these are not normal times. The war must end, and neither the Zelnor nor the Viedrax can end it alone. The species they turn to is unexpected: humans. A race barely known on the galactic stage, only recently discovering the wider universe. Compared to the ancient, sprawling empires of the Zelnor and the Viedrax, humans are nothing more than newcomers, primitive, technologically backward, insignificant in the grand scheme of things. And yet they are the last hope. Both factions view the decision with deep skepticism. To entrust the fate of their millennia-old civilizations to humans seems laughable. They are a species without the advanced weaponry of the Zelnor or the genetic superiority of the Viedrax. How could they possibly shift the tide of a war that even the greatest alien minds have been unable to resolve? But desperation leaves little room for pride. The humans are summoned, and the terms are clear: end the war, or face annihilation themselves. Whispers echo through the ranks of both factions as they prepare for humanity's arrival. There is a sense of disbelief. Could this truly be their solution? Some sneer at the humans' apparent arrogance, agreeing to a task that seems beyond their reach. Others, in quieter moments, wonder what they truly know about this new species. For a race to step into the heart of an intergalactic war without hesitation, perhaps there is something more to them than meets the eye. As the summit concludes, the leaders of the Zelnor and the Viedrax depart, unsure of what to expect. They've placed their last hope in the hands of humanity, and in doing so, set the stage for a reckoning neither side can yet foresee. The galaxy holds its breath as the humans prepare to enter the war, a war that has raged for centuries but will soon be over in less than 5 hours. The summit was set. The great halls, usually echoing with the clamor of Zelnor and Viedrax officials, now fell silent as humanity made its entrance. No fleet of warships, no grand display of power. Instead, a small human delegation, unadorned and unassuming, stepped forward. For the Zelnor and Viedrax, it was a disappointment. They had expected something more flair, more presence. This was the species they had summoned to end their endless war. The unease among the aliens was palpable. But the humans walked with a quiet confidence, completely at ease despite the monumental stakes. They offered no lengthy introductions, no grand promises. They spoke simply, with a calm precision that felt alien in its own way. The terms were direct. Humanity would provide strategic command, their soldiers where needed. Their tools? Advanced AI systems, tactical algorithms, and weaponry far less visible than the planet-destroying armaments the aliens were accustomed to. It was all so understated. The Zelnor and Viedrax commanders, prideful as ever, listened but did not fully understand. The humans lacked the spectacle, the immense presence that each faction had perfected over millennia. How could such a primitive race possibly contribute? The representatives exchanged glances, quietly mocking the humans' lack of advanced technology, whispering that their AI-driven tactics were no match for centuries of military tradition. But the humans spoke as if they already knew the outcome. There was no plea in their words, only a businesslike offer. They outlined a vision where neither side would lose more ground, where the war would be finished in hours, not years. The aliens scoffed inwardly. Hours? After centuries of deadlock, what could humans possibly change in such a short span? The negotiations moved forward. It was clear that the humans were not here for simple payment or fame. They spoke of resources, technology, and something far more valuable, a seat at the galactic table. This, to the aliens, was the heart of the human gamble. They did not want mere rewards, they sought influence, a foothold among the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. For a moment, the Zelnor and Viedrax saw the humans' ambition, but dismissed it. These newcomers were bold, perhaps too bold. Still, they were desperate, and so the deal was made. Both sides agreed. The humans had laid their terms simply, almost casually. They would end the war, resolve the conflict that had drained both empires for centuries. In exchange, humanity would rise. The aliens believed they were using the humans, that this naive species would either fail spectacularly or at best serve as pawns in a larger game. Both the Zelnor and Viedrax believed they could easily control the situation once the war concluded. But as the humans left the summit, there was an unsettling calm. The human negotiators, so composed, so matter-of-fact, left behind no air of desperation, no sign that they felt overmatched by the task ahead. Instead, they carried themselves with an assurance that gnawed at the back of the alien minds. What was it that gave them this quiet certainty? The aliens returned to their war preparations, waiting for the humans to deploy their forces, eager to see how this minor species would operate in real combat. The commanders on both sides made casual bets, wondering how long before the humans would beg for mercy. Their confidence was unshaken, despite the strange feeling that lingered from their encounter. As days passed and human forces began to mobilize, something subtle began to shift. The humans didn't bring the vast armadas the Zelnor and Viedrax were accustomed to seeing. There were no sprawling fleets or monolithic weaponry. The humans arrived in small, precise units, drones, data networks, mobile command centers. It was all so minimal. Yet everything they did was perfectly timed, each move calculated. The aliens watched, curious, perhaps a little amused, but never alarmed. They still believed in their superiority. However, there was something in the humans' every action that hinted at more. It wasn't just the technology or the tactics they spoke of, it was their demeanor. Composed. Certain. It didn't align with the image the Zelnor or Viedrax had of an inferior species. The humans didn't make grand declarations of victory or boast of their impending success. They simply prepared, laying the groundwork for a battle no one expected to end soon. And yet, within their understated approach, a subtle tension began to build. The aliens, in their confidence, had never faced anything quite like this. It wasn't arrogance, it was something else. Quiet, patient, and terrifying in its calm. The final moments before the humans would enter the battlefield came with an odd silence. The aliens, prepared to watch and critique, did not expect what was to come. But for all their centuries of war, they had never once encountered a force that approached with such serene efficiency. And they hadn't realized, not yet, that their overconfidence was about to meet its greatest adversary, human ingenuity. The human forces entered the battlefield with an eerie calm, their presence barely noticeable. There were no massive dreadnoughts cutting through the sky, no brilliant energy beams tearing through space. Instead, a swarm of small, almost insignificant drones began spreading across the war zone. To the Zelnor and Viedrax, this was a pitiful display, a failure to understand the gravity of the war they had been fighting for centuries. The human forces looked like toys in comparison to the monolithic machines the alien factions commanded. The Zelnor fleet commander sneered at the sight. Their sensors, tuned to detect vast armadas and complex energy signatures, barely registered the human units. On the Viedrax flagship, the reaction was similar, disdain masked as curiosity. These humans, with their fragile metal drones and their reliance on machines, had truly misunderstood the nature of war. But the commander's amusement was short-lived. Without warning, the human systems began to activate. Swarms of drones moved with mechanical precision, faster than any living pilot could react. Data flashed through quantum communications, AI systems predicting the movements of the Zelnor and Viedrax fleets with terrifying accuracy. The aliens were unprepared for this level of coordination. Where they expected chaos, they found calculated efficiency. Human AI had long surpassed the need for direct oversight. The machines operated on layers of tactical knowledge, each layer feeding the next, adjusting faster than any organic brain could hope to match. The drones didn't fight for territory or dominance. They fought for control over the battlefield's very structure. Every move the Zelnor or Viedrax made, the humans had already predicted. Before the alien forces could even fire, their weapons were disabled, communications severed, and ships rendered inoperable. The human deployment wasn't just strategic, it was surgical. The drones didn't attack the biggest ships first, as the Zelnor and Viedrax expected. They targeted weak points, essential nodes in their infrastructure. Shields went down without explanation, as human AI hijacked their systems. Command centers found themselves isolated, unable to communicate, as human drones cut their relay stations to pieces with microscopic precision. Every time the aliens tried to regroup, they found their paths blocked, their strategies anticipated. The Zelnor, with their centuries of military tradition, were the first to attempt to counterattack. They gathered their forces, deploying their most advanced weaponry, a plasma beam capable of ripping through entire fleets. But as the beam charged, it never fired. The humans had already infiltrated the system's core, causing it to misfire and overheat. The entire weapon exploded before it could be unleashed. The commander, once confident, was now baffled. How had this happened so quickly? On the Viedrax side, chaos was no less devastating. Their biological warships, designed to adapt to any form of attack, couldn't adapt fast enough. The drones, controlled by AI that constantly analyzed and countered their organic shifts, struck with pinpoint accuracy. Each time a Viedrax ship morphed to counter a human drone, the drone had already shifted its strategy. The battle felt like a simulation the humans had run 1,000 times before. And in many ways it was. The AI systems humans had built were more than tools, they were entities trained on every conceivable form of warfare. The battle wasn't happening in real time. For the humans, it was a pre-programmed outcome, a series of algorithms playing out inevitable victory. Each alien move was anticipated, each tactic rendered useless before it could be executed. Within the first hour, the Zelnor and Viedrax fleets were showing signs of panic. The command centers of both factions scrambled to comprehend what was happening. Never before had they been outmaneuvered so completely, so effortlessly. It was as if the humans weren't even fighting, they were simply solving a problem, and the alien forces were the variables. Attempts to adapt were futile. Every new strategy, every contingency plan the aliens devised, was countered in moments. Zelnor fighter squadrons, once the pride of their empire, were disintegrated mid-flight, their attack formations predicted and intercepted before they could even engage. The Viedrax organic defenses, designed to evolve during battle, were overwhelmed by human drones that adjusted faster than their biological systems could respond. By the third hour, the battlefield had shifted entirely. The Zelnor and Vyadrax commanders, so used to watching their forces dominate, were now in survival mode. Their mighty fleets, their technological marvels, were reduced to debris, scattered across the war zone. Their desperation was palpable. It was in the fourth hour that the full realization began to sink in. This wasn't a battle. It was a dismantling. The humans hadn't come to fight. They had come to end the war in a way neither the Zelnor nor Vyadrax could have anticipated. Their strategies, their ancient knowledge of warfare, meant nothing here. The humans had already rewritten the rules of engagement, and now they were proving it. For centuries, the Zelnor and Vyadrax had fought on the assumption that they were the pinnacle of war. But now, watching their fleets fall apart under the quiet, efficient control of human AI, they understood their error. Humanity had not just caught up, they had surpassed them entirely. Every ship that exploded, every system that failed, was a reminder that they had underestimated their opponents. As the fifth hour approached, the outcome was inevitable. The human forces, still largely unseen, still operating through their drones and AI systems, had done what no other species had ever done. They had ended a war that had raged for centuries, and they had done so with a precision and efficiency that left both the Zelnor and Vyadrax in stunned silence. For the first time in living memory, the battlefield belonged to a species neither side had ever truly considered a threat. And now, it was clear, the humans weren't just players in this game. They had become its masters. The battle ended as swiftly as it had begun. What had started as yet another stalemate in a centuries-long war concluded in an unprecedented, devastating display of tactical brilliance. The Zelnor and Vyadrax, once proud and unyielding, now sat in silence, unable to comprehend what had just unfolded. The battlefield, once a chaotic theater of endless conflict, was now eerily quiet. The human forces, still invisible to most eyes, had done what the galaxy deemed impossible, ended the war in under 5 hours. The alien commanders, hardened by millennia of war, could scarcely process their defeat. They had always assumed the war between their two factions would continue indefinitely, an eternal balance of power that could never be broken. And yet, here they were, defeated not by an equally advanced species, but by humans, those primitive beings they had so casually dismissed. The humans had come and gone like a storm, leaving behind only the wreckage of what was once believed to be the pinnacle of alien warfare. In the aftermath, there was no need for further negotiation. The Zelnor and Vyadrax had nothing left to bargain with. Their fleets were shattered, their war machines disabled, and their pride utterly decimated. With no other option, they conceded. Humanity's role as the new power in the galaxy was no longer a question, it was a fact. The alien leaders, once so confident in their superiority, now bowed their heads as the humans collected their due. The humans didn't gloat. There were no grand speeches, no demands for subjugation or revenge. They simply accepted the spoils of their victory with the same calm efficiency they had shown throughout the battle. Resources, technology, influence, all handed over with little ceremony. Yet, beneath the surface, there was an unspoken tension. The Zelnor and Vyadrax knew they had made a grave miscalculation. They had assumed humanity was a tool to be used and discarded, but in reality, the humans had turned the entire conflict to their advantage. And now, the galaxy was at their feet. In the corridors of power, whispers began to spread. If humans could end a war of this magnitude in mere hours, what else were they capable of? What other secrets did their AI-driven minds hold? The implications were unsettling. The Zelnor and Vyadrax had learned their lesson too late. Humanity was not to be trifled with. The power shift was irreversible. The galaxy had gained a new dominant force, and no one knew what the humans would do next. Some in the alien leadership wondered if this victory had come too easily. Would humanity now become the arbiters of all future conflicts, stepping in whenever they saw fit? Others feared an even darker possibility, that humans had only revealed a fraction of their capabilities. If this was what they could achieve in 5 hours, what could they accomplish in a full-scale campaign? The galaxy shuddered at the thought. But for the humans, there was little reflection on the battle itself. It was a means to an end, another chapter in their long history of warfare. Conflict had always been a part of their existence, a constant throughout their evolution. The Zelnor and Viedrax had seen them as new players on the galactic stage, but humans had been fighting wars long before they even reached the stars. They had honed war into an art form, an art that the galaxy had only just begun to understand. As the humans returned to their home worlds, they left behind more than just the wreckage of alien fleets. They left a legacy, a reminder that they were no longer the underdogs. The galaxy would now regard them with both fear and respect, knowing that this once insignificant species had proven themselves capable of ending conflicts that had lasted millennia. And though the war between the Zelnor and Viedrax had ended, the aftershocks of humanity's victory were only beginning to ripple through the stars. The final moments of the story offer a sobering reflection. War, after all, was never just about the weapons or the tactics. It was about survival, dominance, and the balance of power. And now, that balance had shifted irrevocably in humanity's favor. The Zelnor and Viedrax had always believed they were the ultimate powers, but they were wrong. In the span of 5 hours, humans had rewritten the rules, and the galaxy was now living in their game. As the stars settled, there was a lingering sense of unease. The war was over, but the galaxy had changed forever. Humanity, once an afterthought in the grand scheme of galactic politics, had now claimed their place among the stars. But with this newfound power came new responsibilities, new challenges, and new enemies. For every civilization that marveled at their ingenuity, there were others who feared it, who would no doubt seek to challenge their dominance in the future. The story ends with a subtle but powerful warning. Humanity had revealed themselves, but this was only the beginning. They had earned their place, but in doing so, they had also painted a target on their backs. The galaxy would never be the same, and the humans knew it. As they moved forward into this new chapter, they understood one thing with absolute certainty: this victory was just the start. Whatever came next, the humans would be ready. The galaxy had learned to fear them, and for good reason.